If you are in a place where it is appropriate, comfortable, and safe for you to do so, please close your eyes and begin to take some long, slow, deep, relaxing breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. With every inhale, feel more light and peace entering the body and mind. With every exhale, feel like you're able to just let go and drop away any tension from your body and anything in your mind that you do not want. Inhaling light and peace, exhaling as you drop away all tension. We picture ourselves on top of a beautiful mountain in the center of a circular grove of trees. In the center of our circle, a bonfire blazes forth, lighting us and the grove up with a sacred golden light. We recognize that this is the light of perfect love and perfect trust, and it easily and efficiently burns away everything that is not like itself, leaving us safe and serene. Into this sacred space, we invoke the presence of our Creator. To many of us, our Creator reveals themselves to be a mother and father, a god and goddess. Into this space, we also invite the presence of our guides, our teachers, our angels. We dedicate the time that we spend together to one another and to them, and we ask that we be guided and led as we walk upon the way, becoming happier, more peaceful, more loving, more prosperous, and more gentle people. Thank you very much. And if it's appropriate for you to do so out loud, please say the words, "Blessed be." When people think of God, a lot of times they think, well, God is this smart being up in the sky. I think it's a daddy figure, but sometimes if we're really open to the idea, it might be a mommy figure, and she might actually be in the earth, and daddy might be in the sky, and they're really smart. And that's a very fine way to think of God. But as you grow out of this anthropomorphic understanding of what God is, you start to realize that it's not some man up in the sky or some woman in the earth and that they're very smart and very intelligent. It is intelligence itself. It's the source of all intelligence. It's the force that knows how to create babies out of embryos and designs universes that have planets revolving around a central sun, and designs atmospheres that work with things like photosynthesis to make oxygen out of the sunlight through the green plants. All kinds of mysteries that science is only just now starting to discover and maybe never will understand. So it's intelligence itself. And starting to think of infinite intelligence in that way starts to make a big difference in your life when you move out of anthropomorphic God figures that seem separate from you, that may be very nice, maybe love you very much, may be very smart, but don't have the same impact on your life as understanding that it's the source of all that is. There becomes this idea that the universe itself is intelligence. And an intelligent universe is at least as smart as an engineer. And an engineer that's a very intelligent engineer would never build anything with extra parts, never would build anything with parts that they forgot. So infinite intelligence, which is perfect, didn't build the universe with anything extra and didn't build the universe with anything lacking. And you, being an extension of infinite intelligence, you aren't lacking anything. And there's nothing about you that's extra. There's nothing that's wasted. There's no clashes of will. When we start talking about your true will, that's part of infinite intelligence. Your true will has its own specific function. Your will as a soul and as an extension of infinite intelligence is super smart. It's not lacking anything. It knows exactly where to go and what to do, how to get there. and what to do after that, and what to do after that. This constantly expanding intelligence is you. And so when we feel like we're not smart enough or we're lacking in something, it's important for us to start invoking, in whatever way is appropriate for us, this idea of infinite intelligence, because we start to realize that infinite intelligence creates us, extends itself as us, and therefore we are an aspect of infinite intelligence as well. We're not lacking in intelligence either. It's very important to understand how infinite intelligence is the source of all that is. When you start to outgrow this idea of God as being a daddy figure or a mommy figure, it's very common to start to think in terms of, well, there's no real deity. There's no real God. It's just the forces of nature. That's all. That's all it is. But that kind of robs you of your experience when you do that. It's an important step in our evolution of understanding what this force is. But infinite intelligence is infinite intelligence. And that means that it's got a very specific idea about who you are. And it's a very personal experience with you. So it's not just some force like electricity or lightning or thunder or something like that. It's a force that has a very intimate relationship with you, whether or not you realize it. And so as you connect with infinite intelligence in your mind, you start to understand it's not just some force, some arbitrary, impersonal force. It's a very personal force. It's a very personal, creative intelligence that is your creator and also is a part of you. There is no place that you stop and God starts. And there's no place where God stops and you start. You're an extension of it. And it's very helpful to just sit and think about that. To just sit and ponder the idea of who you are as an extension of intelligence. The ego does not like that because the ego is constantly at work trying to carve out how you're separate from everything and is always in denial of the idea of there being an infinite intelligence that loves and extends itself as you and is very personally connected to you and has a very personal relationship with you. The ego works full time to get you thinking about everything but that. Because when you start thinking like that, you realize that that ego, at best, is a tool that you can use in this world. But definitely it doesn't serve a good function as your guide, as your boss, as your motivator. I wrote a little article about two voices that exist in our minds. And they're not necessarily audible voices. There are motivational forces within us. The motivational force of spirit versus the motivational force of ego. And it does seem like they are at war with one another. But in reality, the only war is the ego, because the ego is the idea of war. It's the idea of separation itself. But infinite intelligence doesn't have an ego. The infinite intelligence doesn't have a concept of separation. So infinite intelligence doesn't see your ego, doesn't see you as an ego, isn't even aware of your ego. Now, infinite intelligence is smart enough to understand that you have problems, smart enough to understand that you're in distress and that you're not happy, and it can give you every resource necessary to fulfill your needs at any moment of time and point of space so that you can become happy again, that you can realize who you are, that you can wake up to your function. If you spend time just thinking about the genius of the universe and how you're an extension of the genius of the universe, so many of your problems start to evaporate just by doing that. Now, if somebody else is exhibiting stupidity from your point of view, somebody's doing something that's really not smart, Rather than trying to meet them at their own level, whereas then you become egos clashing, you can do the same thing for them. You can start seeing them as an extension of infinite intelligence and recognizing that the genius of the universe is extending itself as them as well, even though they aren't aware of it, even though they are having an experience where they are resisting that. You don't have to see it that way. You can see it as the truth that it is. It's a very powerful thing to do. It's a very powerful type of magic. And no ritual is necessary. All you have to do is sit and relax your mind and body for a moment and contemplate the idea of the infinity of the intelligence of the universe and how it extends itself as you and as each and every person on the planet. And you can rise above so many problems in your own life and in your interpersonal relationships with others by simply doing that. And you can do that, a couple times a week if you want to, just to really stay grounded in the truth about who you are and who everybody else is. Anything that's intelligent is not cruel. Cruelty is a sign of a lack of intelligence. So there is no cruelty in the infinite. There is no cruelty in God, if you will. And therefore, ultimately, there's no cruelty in you, and there's no cruelty in others. That's why when we live in a cruel universe, and when we live in a cruel world, we are being constantly shown that we are living in a nightmare. We are living in fantasy world of cruelty. And cruelty, just the mere existence of cruelty is evidence that we're dreaming, is evidence that we are in a state of illusion. Now, that's not saying that within this world, within this experience, within this illusion, that cruelty isn't really happening. Yes, it is, and we need to deal with it. But one of the best ways to start dealing with cruelty is not at the level where the cruelty is happening. It's, as I said before, taking time first to orient yourself to infinite intelligence, to orient yourself to the contemplation of what the universe is as an intelligent force, and how you are an extension of that perfect intelligence, and how the person that may be exhibiting cruelty is an extension of that intelligence. Then you start to see that cruel behavior for what it is, and that's the ravings of somebody who's in a lot of pain. The ravings of somebody who's caught up in a nightmare, caught up in an illusion, and doesn't know how to get out. And then you start to recognize that even the most heinous of behavior, cruel behavior that we would want to call evil here, we just want to call it evil, is not really the evil that we believe it is, but a very extreme cry for help. We're not always, as personalities and as egos, capable of offering them that help, but infinite intelligence is. And so the first thing that we do before we do anything on the physical plane when we're dealing with cruelty is find that orientation of infinite intelligence within our own minds, and then seeing that person as who they are as a soul, as being infinite intelligence. And therefore they can't be cruel. It's impossible for their soul to be cruel. Therefore, what's happening here is the ravings of a person in dire pain, right? So that it starts to spark some compassion for them. And again, then after that, then you have to deal with it however you have to deal with it, whether that's putting them in prison, whether that's restraining order, whether that's whatever has to happen in the realm of the illusion to take care of that behavior. It will be shown to us. It will be shown to us because infinite intelligence is intelligent. It will be shown to us how to handle that in the moment, but recognizing that on the grand scale, once everybody wakes up from the dream, recognize that that person isn't cruel. That person is not cruel. You're not cruel. There is no cruelty in the universe. So Understanding that we do live in a nightmare. We do live in an illusion. We do live in this illusion that there is a lack of intelligence. And when we orient ourselves to intelligence first, then we know how to handle it in the realm of the illusion. And that on the other side of all of this, there is a place where none of this is really happening. None of this is actually happening. And it's easier for us to get there when we don't double down on judgment against other people based on their behavior, based on their cruelty, which we now understand is impossible. It's impossible for them to really be cruel. So it must be something else. It must be something else. There was this big discussion on the Facebook group about the Bible, and some people were saying the Bible is truth, and some people were saying the Bible is not truth. And the Bible's interesting. The Bible is interesting, but one thing that the Bible does say, which I find fascinating, and you see it a lot in the Psalms, is that God appears however you expect God to appear for you. God is for you exactly what you expect God to be. And so we have within our own selves this power of projection. And that's how we use infinite intelligence in this world. And so what we're projecting onto anything is what we're going to experience. And so what we have to learn how to do is ask for infinite intelligence to project itself as it would have us see it, rather than relying on our ego minds to come up with the right projection for us. Because when the ego mind gets a hold of our magical powers, which is all projection is the ability to perform magic, you realize that everybody's a magician in this world. Every single person is projecting. It's just that they're doing it habitually. Their egos have run amok, and they are projecting, and they get what they get. It's their intelligence used against themselves. That's what we all do. So once we recognize that and we realize, whoa, my mind is very powerful. I obviously don't know how to use my mind in a good way because I'm living in this nightmare experience where we are sort of cursed with this ability to create without understanding how. And then we were cursed with free will, which is that whole concept of the Lucifer myth. The fall from grace was when we were given powers before we were ready for them, that's what that story is. Right. So now it's up to us to say, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to start to ask for infinite intelligence to project through me, to use my powers of magic through me to show me the real world, to show me the world as it would have me see it, rather than me putting up with the same old projections. Because that's what we do. Somebody does something to us or for us or around us, and then we respond or react to that. And then they respond or react, and then we respond. There's action, reaction, action, reaction, action, reaction. And we think that that's how the world is. We just think that this is the world. And we don't understand that we're projecting an experience of the world based on what everybody else is projecting. And then we respond to that projection. They respond to that projection. And we're all mired in this really bizarre movie. And once we understand how intelligent we really are underneath all of that, we stop that. We stop doing that completely. And we start asking for that inner guidance to show us who we are as extensions of infinite intelligence so that we can use our magical powers in a way that actually works for our benefit rather than miring us in illusion. When things are going wrong in your life, things are not happening the way you want. Maybe you've got financial problems or relationship problems, health problems. That is a call from your own deep mind that you need to find connection to infinite intelligence, because those things are not the will of infinite intelligence. This idea of, well, it's God's will that I be sick, that I have cancer. It's God's will that I be broke. It's God's will that I got a divorce, whatever. That's not at all based in truth. Infinite intelligence doesn't will those things. Infinite intelligence wills that you be happy. Infinite intelligence wills that you be free, that you be prosperous, that you use your powers of creativity to create joy for yourself and everybody around you. And anything that doesn't look like that, you can recognize is your own intelligence used against yourself. So when you're having those problems, the first thing we want to do, just like I said earlier, when somebody else is having problems for us, is to reorient ourselves to who we are as intelligence. And then allow that intelligence to guide us as to what to do in the physical world. But that's not what we do. When we have something go wrong in our lives, when we have a financial problem, let's say, the first thing we do is say, oh, what do I do to fix it? And we go in and we try to make something happen in the world. And sometimes we get temporary relief. Sometimes we make it worse. Sometimes we just delay it. But if we want to heal it, the first thing we have to do is find who we are as infinite intelligence and recognize that infinite intelligence doesn't want us to have a financial problem. That's not its will. Infinite intelligence wants us to be happy and at peace. So therefore, whatever this financial problem is not the will of God, so to speak. So confessing that who I am as an ego doesn't know what to do about this. If I knew what to do, I would have done it. So therefore, if I can orient myself to intelligence first and ask for infinite intelligence to reveal itself through me, then I start to get intuitive understandings about what to do, if anything, to heal my financial problem. Sometimes the intuitive hit is stop doing things. Leave it alone. And it does clear up by itself. Sometimes it's call this person, put your money here, stop spending, whatever happens to be the thing. And then through my own intuitive process, things get healed up. But it's not because I've decided how to figure out things. It's because I first oriented myself toward infinite intelligence and then allowed infinite intelligence to express itself through me that I understand how things work. Now, to the world, it may look like I figured things out. To the world, it may look like, wow, that was ingenious. How'd you figure that out? So that's something that requires a lot of practice. That's why we say that we have a magical practice. To become adept at magic is the ability to learn how to withdraw our own ego impulses from any situation and reorient ourselves to infinite intelligence and allow that intelligence to work through us to guide our actions if necessary. It's as easy as sitting and contemplating infinite intelligence, even thinking the words infinite intelligence as you're thinking and contemplating it in regards to whatever is going on in your life. It's as easy and simple as doing that and taking your hands off the situation and allowing infinite intelligence to be the force that you turn to that works through you to clean up whatever is happening. It takes time. It takes practice. The good news is that there's no shortage of situations calling for infinite intelligence that we will be confronted with on any given day. So we have lots of opportunity to practice. And the good news about all of this is if you don't get it right, infinite intelligence is not punitive. If you don't get it right, you get another opportunity. And then you get another opportunity and another opportunity. And every single day, you can get a little bit better and a little bit better at learning how to respond to the world from the point of view of infinite intelligence rather than from the point of view of your own ego reactions. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I so appreciate you. Until next time, blessed be.